Hello everyone and welcome back to the Perfunctionist channel, and today we're looking at a really cool way to really level up your rock tones. So something you might do in the studio is to double track your guitar parts and then pan it left and right, and you get a really nice wide sound which sounds really good in the ears, and we're going to try and do that today. But we're going to do it live, so you only need, if you're the only guitarist in the band, this might be really good for you. So we're going to go through a couple of different ways of achieving this. I've done a video previously on this, and this is kind of more of a all-encapsulating guide on how to do this. So Line 6 released their double take effect a little while ago on a firmware update last year, I believe it was, which does that kind of stereo widening double tracking effect sound. And I was doing it before that, but kind of recreating it using a delay. And I'm going to show you both, and I'm going to show you which ones I prefer and why. And keep watching as well, because I'm going to show you how to soup up one of those methods as well to make it even wider and even more noticeable, and in my opinion, even cooler. And just quickly, if you like the concept of this video, if you like anything I've done, please consider giving this video a thumbs up, and definitely please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. It's much appreciated. And yeah, let's get into the video. So here is my layout on the Helix. We're only using the top line because it's a very simple setup today, so you can ignore this bottom line here. And all we've got is an amp, which is the Friedman amp that I did a Helix tone on a couple of weeks ago, the Placator, just the dirty channel this time. And I've just combined the amp and cab because the cab isn't important for this demonstration. I've got my obligatory room reverb there, and I've got the double take effect there, modulation version, and I've got my delay effect here, the simple delay, and we'll go into detail on all of that in a moment. I'll also mention I'm using snapshots here just to make it easier to demonstrate. So we're going to start off with no effects, so this is not using either of the either the double take or the delay to get the effect. So here's how it sounds. Okay, so let's try the double take out. There's going to be some panning elements to it, but this is a modulation effect, so they've done their witchery, jiggery, pokery and made it sound like you've double tracked your guitar. So check it out. Let's do it through here actually. There we go. So there you go. Sounds pretty good. You can adjust it to how you want it to sound. But the problem I had with it previously, which a couple of people have picked up on when I did my last video on how to do a double tracking type stuff. Something I noticed, something that other people picked up on, was you get this kind of weird artifacting. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of I'll see if I can try and recreate it. So it kind of happened there. I don't know if you could hear it. It sounded like almost like one side is getting muted a little bit, so you're kind of hearing it stronger on one side than the other. It's something like that. It's really hard to describe it. But as I said, it's not like the worst thing in the world. I actually used this on some of my presets that I use for gigs. So it's not massively noticeable when you're playing live, at least in my experience. but it's worth mentioning that that's kind of what you get with that effect. I think because it's modulation based, and I have found similar artifacting when I'm using things like flanges. So it's probably something to do with that. So that's the double take. Let's try the delay. So I've got the snapshot here for the simple delay. So what's happening here is I've just using a simple delay. I'm going to drag it down so it kind of goes into a separate path. And originally when I first kind of came up with this, that path would kind of come off and I'd have a separate output. But now I've kind of reconstituted it into the whatever line you're on. Usually it's in the bottom line because I've got more effects. And that's going into the reverb. And before I couldn't actually have a reverb there, or unless I have a reverb on both channels, which is taking up DSP and it's unnecessary. So it's going to a reverb, and you need to make sure that your reverb is a stereo reverb. If you were to pick something from the mono delay, what happens is that any stereo effects that come before it get summed into mono. So whatever's kind of towards the end of your chain, if it's in mono, the whole signal is going to be in mono. So if you've got any stereo effects before, they're kind of pointless. And that works for both the double take and the delay version of this effect. So keep that in mind if you're going to be creating a preset with a reverb at the end. Alright, so what have I done? I've pulled that down, and let's go to the delay here. So I usually put to about 23 milliseconds, between 20 and 25, maybe even 30, depending how kind of strong you want the effect to be. You can adjust the time to that. Feedback on 0. Mix on 100% because you don't actually want to hear the original signal. You want to hear the delay. You want to hear it moved along 23 milliseconds. And I've just got a level on 0 and trails. You can put that on if you want, but you're probably gonna. It's so short anyway. The trails, you don't need to adjust that. But here's how it sounds. In fact, I'll tell you what. Let's have a listen to the double take again, and then we'll go into the delay version. So me personally, I'm not hearing any kind of artifacting using the delay that I was hearing on the double take. So I would generally prefer the delay sound for the double tracking effect. And it seems you guys out there seem to agree with that, at least from what I've seen in the comments on the other video. But we can take this a bit further and get it to sound even wider. Something I've kind of discovered recently. I'm just kind of messing about with certain things. So one thing I forgot to mention actually was, so when you pull it down, what you're creating here are these kind of split points. You've got split points to kind of go into the delay, and then split point to come back in. I guess it's not really a split point, is it? It's a joining point. There we go, merge. So what I've got here is at my merge point at the end here, I've panned A all the way to the left, pan B all the way to the right. So that's where you get that. That's how you get that double tracking effect. So A is basically that line on the top there, and B is this line here where the delay is going through. And I found recently, if you go back to the split point and you also pan these left and right, so you're panning it at the end and at the beginning. So I'm going to put A all the way to the left, 100%. And then this B all the way to the right, it gets even wider. There will be a problem, which you'll hear now, so let me show you. So what you should be hearing there is the left is slightly louder than the right. So you redress that in the delay effect here. At least that's how I do it. I'm sure there's other ways to do this, but I just turn the level up, and I think about 3.6 sounded pretty good. Obviously, you can adjust to your own tastes. So let's check this out now. Yeah, so that sounds wider to me, and I really like that. That's the one that's what I would prefer to use on my presets if I want that kind of wide sound. The double take, yeah, it sounds okay. It's got the little artifact thing, but it's not massively, it's not horrible. There's the delay, the original version we had, sounds almost the same as the double take, at least in terms of wideness anyway. And then the extra bits we added to make the delay sound even wider is what I really like. Especially for that kind of, if you're into like metal stuff, that's kind of, you really want that wideness. And this is great for if you've got your mix through in-ears, because you can really hear it. On stage, you probably not going to hear it, depending how you're monitoring yourself. If you've got two wedges, maybe you might hear it. Or if you've got two speakers behind you, then you might be able to hear it. But, if you're just kind of plugging into an amp, or into like some kind of FR speaker on stage in mono, you're probably not going to notice the difference. What you might hear if you plug into mono, if you're getting both signals, or both left and right, you might hear a kind of slight almost chorusing effect. It's almost like a slapback effect, and it doesn't actually have that wideness to it because it's coming from one speaker, so keep that in mind as well. But this is great for the front of house. This will sound really good. And if you are monitoring on in-ear monitors, then this will sound really good as well. In stereo as well. Sometimes you're on in-ear monitors in mono, depending how many outputs your mixer has. Some people don't have the luxury of stereo. But if you do, yeah, this sounds great. So there you have it. What did you think? Which one did you prefer? Let me know in the comments below which one you liked more, the double take modulation effect or using the delay. And as you will have seen in that video, I personally prefer the delay sound, and from what I've seen in my other video on this, other people seem to prefer that as well. But let me know which one you prefer and why. And if you have maybe a better way of doing this, or maybe if you have a way to refine anything that I've shown you today in this video. And if you're still here watching, thank you for sticking around towards the end until the end of the video. It's much appreciated. It's really good for the algorithm if you guys watch all the way through. So yeah, feel free to do that if you fancy it. But hopefully it's been helpful to you. I hope it's something that you are interested in. If it is, let me know that in the comments below as well. And if there's any other Helix based things that you're interested in, feel free to ask in the comments as well. Or if there's anything non-Helix based that you're interested in as well, let me know as well, because I'm always looking to diversify the content and kind of give you guys what you might be looking for. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for sticking around till the end. Hope you're having a good week so far, and yeah, have a good week, and I'll see you in next week's video.